Strange but effective. Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report is coming from Sinnlos off Erowid. When this happened, 2009. The drug used was scopolamine at a dose of 1 milliliter, then a 2 milliliter experience. The route of administration, transdermal, gender, male, weight, 155 pounds. Prior experience includes cannabis, alcohol, benzos, LSD, DPH, Dramamine, meclizine, mushrooms, opiates, and salvia. And the setting, mainly used when on an airplane. Okay, so here we have a report on scopolamine, one of the active datura alkaloids. If you aren't aware, scopolamine itself is actually sometimes prescribed to people, mainly for the use of motion sickness, as we'll see here in today's report. Scopolamine is an anticholinergic, like many other deliriants, and if you know, one of the main effects of anticholinergics is their ability to help ease nausea and motion sickness. But what it can also do, as many of you might be aware, is cause you to go into a delirious state if taken enough, which we'll also see here as he accidentally takes too much. We'll break down scopolamine more at the end and explain how it works more. So let's waste no more time. Without further ado, let's dive right into this. My drug history covers most of the standard substances over the years: cannabis, alcohol, benzos, LSD, diphenhydramine, meclizine, mushrooms, opiates, and a few non-productive experiments with salvia. My recreational use of drugs has dropped since the start of my 30s. This was not due to bad experiences or addiction, but more from drugs being less fun as an adult. I outgrew them to a certain degree. Been there, done that. But I feel it's relevant to this report so the reader understands that I'm not new to being under the effects of various substances. Last year I was promoted to a position in my company that required a ridiculous amount of travel. I fly across the country at least twice a week, and may indeed have more flight hours than what some airline flight crews are picking up, according to a flight attendant friend of mine. I never had a problem with motion sickness until I took this job. I was car sick only once as a child, and as an adult, have only gotten nauseated, but not vomited, while driving in mountainous terrain. But when I began this job, I started to develop a problem. I had assumed I would get my air legs. The more motion you expose yourself to, the more tolerant you are supposed to become. This is why newbies in the Navy get violently ill the first day or so, and then never again. The brain adjusts. Not in my case. The more I flew, the more airsick I suddenly got. This developed to the point where even a smooth flight would end up with me throwing up in the airport bathroom if I was lucky, or if I was unlucky, into a barf bag on board an aircraft in front of a group of disgusted strangers. This then carried over into my regular life. I began getting sick in movies or while playing video games. At first, I began taking over-the-counter motion sickness meds. Dramamine. Dramamine comes in two forms: diphenhydramine or dimenhydrinate, or meclizine. Both work in a similar fashion by dampening the information the brain gets from the inner ear. Diphenhydramine's most convenient side effect is drowsiness. Not an effect you want after getting off a plane and need to drive a rental car around a strange city. Meclizine has less drowsiness, but made me somewhat paranoid, and it didn't always work. I've been taking large amounts of diphenhydramine, and this did work to stop the air sickness, but in large doses, it has psychoactive effects. Basically, it trips you out. I didn't want to be tripping balls while traveling. I finally went to a doctor and got some prescription-grade scopolamine in the form of a gel that gets rubbed on the wrist and is absorbed through the skin. Patches are available, but they're more tailored to people on cruises and ships who need it for days at a time. The gel would only work for 12 hours and creates less withdrawal. Going off scopolamine suddenly creates a rebound effect that causes nausea, vomiting, and everything else it's supposed to cure. The scope worked. I didn't get sick, but it is a strange drug. It is a belladonna alkaloid and has similar effects to datura. The doses are extremely small. Higher doses induce delirium, and it's not like any other drug where you remember you are on a drug. The hallucinations on belladonna alkaloids seem utterly and completely real. They cannot be separated from reality. The normal dose, 1 milliliter, causes a very strange high that is difficult to put my finger on. Not like acid, not like a benzo, not like weed. Perhaps the best way to describe it is a mild euphoria followed by the general feeling of weirdness that you get when an acid trip begins to come on. It feels like a drop in pressure behind the eyeballs, and things seem slightly off, but you can still function normally. It's not pleasurable. Part of my routine for flying involves checking out the turbulence and weather forecast. On a flight to the Midwest a few months ago, I discovered that there was severe turbulence anticipated for the duration of the flight, so I took more than the recommended dose. I doubled it. I thought I was functioning fine, but somehow I wandered through the wrong gate area of the airport and had to find my way back. I was floaty, speaking slowly, and feeling quite dizzy as I wandered through the crowds at the airport. I kept hearing friends' voices as if they were behind me when they were not. I was alone. I finally managed to get on my aircraft, and all I remember was being in some kind of trance, thinking the most bizarre thoughts. I was getting second looks from just about everyone, as it was clear I was not in my right mind. I have since changed my meds and now take lorazepam and a small dose of Dramamine instead. I fall asleep and wake up at the destination, with no memory of the flight and don't feel sick at all, no matter how rough the flight. It works for motion sickness, but the strange edge to it is not a pleasant buzz. This is not a recreational drug, and most docs don't worry about it being abused because the high is not fun. It is more like a delirious fever than a euphoric buzz. It stops nausea, even from things like flu or surgery, but it messes with your ability to discern reality from imagination. Okay, so here we are talking about scopolamine, which is kind of new, but not really. It's new in the way of its route of administration, its ability, and its usage. But in a sense, we have covered this multiple times already in our datura and belladonna reports, and as I said before, scopolamine is one of the main active alkaloids found in the nightshade plants, along with hyoscyamine and atropine, which, those on their own, have also seen usage as medicines. Which some of you may be like, alright, what the hell? You mean all the datura alkaloids are actually medicines? Possibly one of the baddest deliriants out there? And I just have to tell you, yeah, it's just a matter of doing this stuff right. When you do straight up datura, it's going to be a much different story if you were to take scopolamine that's prescribed. With datura, you really won't know how much of the alkaloids you'll be consuming. Each plant, even different parts of the plant, can have varying levels of alkaloids. So it kinda is like a gamble every time you take it. With a prescription, you'll at least know exactly where you're at. But even with today's report, we see Sinnlos experiences some difficulties at the recommended dose, and it seems he was in a stage of overdosage when he doubled his dose. Now we don't know his exact dose, but I imagine if it was only for a short duration, it wasn't that strong. At 1 milligram, that's commonly given to those who need it for a few days. I imagine at a double dose, Sinnlos may have been close to this, but even with this, for the dose to be effective, it seems there can be a varying degree of delirium that can come along with it, mostly in the form of confusion and possibly worry, which, trying to navigate in an airport alone off of this, probably just made it that much worse. But let's break down scopolamine a little itself. The delirious and physical effects are many of the common ones you can come to expect, which can include dehydration, blurred vision, change in heart rate, potential hallucinations, confusion, tiredness, skin irritation, and more. If you're wondering how the inner ear is connected with the nausea and motion sickness, well, if you don't know, our inner ears actually play a big role in helping us control our balance. It picks up information about the world around us and gives it to our brain to figure out our place in space based off our positioning and gravity. It's connected with the whole sensory system. But when someone goes on a boat, or a plane in this case, there can be a disturbance to the inner ear that throws it off balance, causing these effects that make you sick. It is actually recommended, if you get a scopolamine patch, that you should place it behind your ear so it can target that system more effectively. But that isn't the only thing scopolamine has been used for. It has seen use in helping calm down the gastrointestinal system. It can be used to help stop drooling, and it has seen use for surgeries. One that stands out is its use as an eye drop to widen the pupils, or even just to help with inflammation. When used properly, scopolamine can be a really useful substance in the medical field at times, and is far from being widely used recreationally compared to some of the other deliriants out there. So we're going to end it there today. Hopefully you did enjoy this view on scopolamine. If you want to see more on that, more on other deliriants, or any substance at all, let me know in the comments below and we can do that. If you want me to read your own report, send it to NoOneSubmitReport@gmail.com. If you did enjoy this video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, follow the socials, share the video. It's been Someone That's No One, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.